She booked the flight on a Tuesday. Last minute. Europe, she said. A surprise for our anniversary. I didn't argue. The confirmation hit our joint email that afternoon. 2 seats, flexible fare. Hotel with boutique in the name. I shifted money to cover the card. Fees stacked in neat lines. Foreign transaction, seat upgrade, lounge access. The math didn't care about romance. Neither did the airline. She packed fast that night. Efficient. 1 carry-on, 1 small bag, heels in a cloth wrap she never used here. She smiled without landing it. I asked about the itinerary. Don't worry, she said. I didn't. She left before sunrise. No hug at the door, just a wave and a wrist flick for the driver. I watched the taillights turn the corner. The house went quiet in a way I recognized. Not empty, just still. I worked. I cleared the sink. I set reminders for the mortgage and the utilities because the auto pay was tight. I turned off a light in the hallway she always forgot. I slept fine. Her messages came in bursts. Photos of narrow streets and warm bread. A fountain at dusk. Captions that sounded like travel blogs. No calls. Time zones make good excuses. So does momentum. She came back on a Friday. Rideshare to the house. No request for pickup. The door opened, and she stepped in like a guest. Lighter somehow. Not rested. Not tired. Just somewhere else. She put an old compass on the entry table. Tarnished brass. Glass scuffed. The needle trembled and stuck, then swung again. Flea market, she said. I liked it. I nodded. Her bag still smelled like unfamiliar soap. She smiled at the compass, not at me. I thought you'd appreciate it, she said. I watched her thumb rub the rim. She knew I noticed. We had dinner at home. I lit a candle I hadn't touched in months. She picked at her plate, spoke in quick segments about plazas and museums. Names without details. I let the silences sit. She checked her phone face down, screen dim when she lifted it. Jet lag, she said. I cleared the dishes. She didn't stop me. Our anniversary fell the next day. I placed a small wrapped box by her coffee cup. She didn't open it. Later, she said, then stared at the yard like it had changed. It hadn't. The compass had moved to the counter, sitting on a stack of mail. Its needle leaned off true and held there. I put the mail in order. She watched me do it and said nothing. She reached for me once in the hallway and missed by a few inches. Not clumsy. Not accidental. Just off. She took a long shower. Steam under the door. The sound of water stretching past reason. I checked the card again. New charges from the return airport. Duty free. A restaurant bill tagged for 2. I didn't ask. I wrote the totals on a sticky note and put it under the modem. That afternoon she unpacked in silence. 1 dress on a chair. A scarf on the bed. The compass migrated again, this time to her nightstand, pointed at the ceiling. She stopped twice in the doorway as if she was walking into the wrong room before catching herself and smiling it away. Old joke. New timing. Friends sent, welcome back, texts. She set the phone to vibrate and left it in the other room. I sat at the table and adjusted the budget by small degrees. Streaming services, insurance, groceries. Nothing flashy. Nothing anyone would notice unless they were counting. I was counting. When she finally opened the box by her cup, she tried to make it light. You shouldn't have, she said. I shrugged. She put the ribbon in the drawer without the paper. The gift joined a row of other clean and used things. I closed the drawer when she forgot to. Tell me about Paris, I said, even though her ticket never listed Paris. She brushed a strand of hair back and said, another time. Then she touched the compass again. The needle shivered like it wanted to choose. That night she slept on her back, one hand on the nightstand. Not reaching for me, exactly. Just holding position. I didn't turn toward her. I let the ceiling keep me. By Sunday, our movements had settled into new lanes. She floated through rooms. I tracked expenses in small boxes. The compass stopped near the door again, as if it had walked there. I picked it up and set it flat. The needle hesitated, then pointed toward anything but north. Some truths don't need questions. It didn't point home. Monday reset everything and nothing. She moved through the kitchen like a guest who knew the drawers. Coffee, keys, the little compass in her palm, then back into her bag. I watched the clock, not her. She told me her week was stacked. Late meetings, she said, already looking past me. I didn't ask for details. I nodded, set 2 plates, ate off one, wrapped the other. She didn't text on the train ride back. The house made more noise than she did. Her phone found the loud parts. New dings. New names that flashed quick and vanished. She learned to tilt the screen. She learned I didn't lean. I kept my hands in my pockets and let the silence do the work. The compass sat on the console table for a day. The needle drifted when I passed. It stopped caring about north. I stopped caring what it wanted. Friends started reaching out at odd hours. Not questions. Phrases that were shaped like questions. Busy night again? You two must be spinning. I typed short answers. Kept it level. People filled blank spaces with their own stories. Her schedule stretched. Emergency review. Client ran over. Traffic. She practiced a quick laugh that didn't travel. I timed her walk from the car to the door. 1 minute. 2. Sometimes she came in smelling like someone else's idea of a weekend. The money started to show it. A charge from a boutique I didn't recognize. A late fee that shouldn't exist. The joint card declined on a small grocery run, and I covered it without comment. I opened the spreadsheet and shifted numbers like furniture. Groceries to needs. Trips to unknown. I cut a subscription we never used. The house stayed warm enough. She started logging out of things she never logged out of. Emails that used to be open were now signed off. The bank app asked for a code and she had it. She glanced at my face to see if I'd blink. I didn't. I memorized the new habit and made dinner. She floated the idea of a bonus that hadn't arrived. Talked about reimbursements that were in process. She set her phone face down and kept her hand on it like it might run. I made a note in my head and trimmed another line item. We weren't sinking. We were taking on water. On a Thursday, she dressed for work like it was an event. New shoes. A dress that hadn't lived in our closet yesterday. The tag had been removed with care. She spun once in the mirror, then caught me looking. She waited for praise. I took my time and tied my shoes. Neighbors waved as we left at different times. One of them said, "Saw Sophia at Marlowe last night. Looked fun." I smiled, short and polite. It was a small place near the river. Not where her office lived. I didn't correct anyone. I let their words hang where they wanted. At night, she walked to the patio to take calls. The glass door muffled her voice, but the tone was lighter than ours. I watched her reflection move. She traced the rim of her wine without drinking it. When she came back in, I was at the table with receipts lined in quiet rows. She noticed the order. She didn't ask. The compass found its way back to the counter, like a souvenir that had spent its story. I opened it once while she showered. The needle twitched, then still. It meant less than her lock screen. Texts from our circle grew softer. "Everything okay? You good if we push Saturday?" Plans slid off the calendar without anyone admitting who pushed. I started saying yes to small things alone. Lunch at my desk. A run after dark. The house learned my pace. One night she tossed her bag on the chair and sat across from me. "We need to adjust the budget," she said like it was a fresh idea. I turned the laptop so she could see the totals. She scanned them, then changed the subject before she reached the bottom line. I let the subject change. The numbers stayed. Her humor sharpened a touch. Little prods designed to get a reaction. I didn't give her one. She knew I noticed. It made her nervous. She started narrating her absences as if she owed someone else an alibi. I moved my things to the spare room under the excuse of work calls. She stopped wearing her ring in the house but kept it on outside. She tested the echo of the hallway with her heels when she left late. The sound traveled farther every time. The month turned. The joint account dipped, then stabilized because I made it. She didn't ask how. I didn't explain. I was careful with cash and quiet with choices. The fridge held what we needed. The lights stayed on. Her calendar filled itself. She called from the driveway once to say she was on her way home. Then sat there 10 minutes, talking to someone else. I watched the porch light finish its cycle and burn out. I didn't replace it that night. The front door opened to a darker entry. She hesitated like she'd forgotten the layout. By then, I had stopped setting 2 plates. I set one, ate at a steady pace, washed it, and left the counter dry. She noticed the empty place where her glass used to be. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She had a story ready. I let it age in her throat. The compass stayed closed on the table through all of it. It was a souvenir, nothing else. The directions I needed were already marked. I stopped checking the time when she was late. I adjusted the locks and the ledger. That was enough. Wednesday told on her. I was home early. The ledger was open, numbers in quiet rows. She didn't hear me in the office. Her voice ran light from the hallway, the kind she used for one-sided jokes. I caught fragments. "Same spot. You know I'm careful." A laugh that didn't belong to the house. I didn't step out. I let the words stack. The glass on my desk went still. People reveal more when they think you aren't listening. She moved through the kitchen fast, keys in hand, bag open. The compass strap hung over the zipper. The lid had popped. The needle trembled like it hadn't picked a direction yet. She adjusted it without looking and walked out. When the door closed, I stood. No rush. No questions. I closed the ledger and checked the bank alerts. 2 rides last night to a hotel near the river. A bar I didn't recognize. Small charges spread thin. Careful work. I noted them. I pulled the emergency fund into a separate account and capped the joint card. Autopay stayed covered. Optics matter. Her chat was still open on my laptop. She'd used it that morning. A name sat at the top that belonged to her past. We'd had him at our table once. He used to call me brother. I watched the cursor blink. I didn't want to be that man who scrolls. I scrolled. They wrote in understatement. Inside jokes. I wasn't inside anymore. A line about Europe. A line about a key. A line about the city where she felt alive. No pictures. Just timestamps and logistics. It was deliberate. It was enough. I didn't argue with the screen. I screenshotted. I exported. I moved the files into a dull folder named Repairs. I sent copies to a clean drive and put it under the toolbox. Paper leaves trails. Numbers hold them longer. She knew how I kept records. She knew I noticed. I wiped my fingerprints from the laptop and positioned the lid the way she had left it, slightly off-center. Small things tell people nothing happened. I prefer small things. The compass wasn't on the table that night. Her bag lay by the chair, clipped shut like a mouth. I set 1 plate, ate slow, washed it, dried the counter. She came in late and tried to ease through the room without the floorboards talking for her. I let the silence settle in the hallway. She paused, then went past. In bed, her phone lit the ceiling. I faced the other way. She angled the screen away on instinct. She didn't sleep. I did. Morning made the numbers clearer. I checked a retirement account she'd been skimming for. Short-term needs. Transfers to a new checking account with only her name. Not illegal. Just telling. I moved my direct deposit to a solo account I'd left dormant, and set hard notifications for any pulls from shared funds. I wasn't restricting. I was preventing loss. She asked me if we were okay over coffee, voice pitched to suggest normal. I stirred once. We're functional, I said. She studied my answer like it was a map that had lost the street. She smiled anyway. It didn't reach where truth lives. On my way out, I saw the compass on top of her bag, its lid shut again. The brass had picked up fine scratches in a week. Souvenir speed. It looked like it had seen more tables than trails. I let my eyes pass over it. She tracked the movement. She pretended not to. At work, I forwarded the files to a private email and printed a spare set. I didn't trust clouds. I didn't make calls. People who rush make noise. Noise ruins leverage. I added dates to the ledger. Wednesday, first proof. Thursday, account split. It wasn't reaction. It was structure. She texted around noon. Memes. Lightweight touches. That used to be ours. I put the phone face down and cleared 2 small invoices faster than usual. Quiet helps productivity. By evening, a friend of hers liked an old photo of us from a trip up north. Strange timing. I marked the name. Social cues are rarely accidental. She came home earlier, ready for conversation we weren't going to have. Her bag hit the chair. The compass clinked once and went still. She watched me turn off the lamp and close the ledger. I passed her in the hallway. She opened her mouth. I kept walking. Maps are for people who need directions. I already had my route. The mail came late. A thin envelope with careful handwriting and a foreign stamp. I turned it over once, then opened it at the kitchen counter. The compass sat nearby, face up, needle shaking at my movement. The note was short. A thank you for Lisbon, the rooftops, the promise to see me again. A line about how the little brass compass looked good on you. No names. No dates. Enough. Some truths don't need questions. I set the letter beside the compass and left both where sunlight could reach them. Then I logged into the bank. 2 autopays had failed. A fee. Her transfer to the joint account was light by half. New charges from places we don't go. I saved PDFs and labeled them by month. Evidence doesn't argue. It sits. When she came home, she saw the placement. Her glance flicked from the compass to the note and back. She stayed at the door longer than usual, deciding on a face to wear. I didn't help her choose. She said it was a silly misunderstanding. Light tone. Easy shrug. I let the words pass. I tapped the letter once, then the compass. Her ears reddened. The laugh that followed had no air in it. I didn't ask who he was. I didn't ask how long. I slid a printed statement across the table. Missed payments. Fees. I pushed a pen beside it. We're restructuring, I said. Simple. Calm. She tried to smile through it. You're overreacting. I didn't answer. I opened my laptop, removed her as an authorized user, paused the joint card, and set new limits. She watched me lock down the numbers she assumed would always refill. Her voice rose an inch, not more. She talked about trust. I left the room and called the bank from the hallway. New account. Direct deposit moved by end of day. The rep asked if I wanted a second card. No, I said, and looked at the compass. The needle had settled somewhere south of useful. Back at the table, I placed a typed note next to the letter. Rent, utilities, deadlines. Split evenly. Paid on time. No exceptions. She scanned it and scoffed at the formality. I kept my hand still. Distance does the work for you if you let it. She picked up the compass, rolled it in her palm like a coin that might land heads if she willed it. It's just a souvenir, she said. The metal clicked against her ring, hollow on hollow. She set it down gently, but not where it had been. The needle quivered and pointed off the page. I opened a drawer and pulled out a manila folder. Printed messages. The travel itinerary she said was a surprise but wasn't. The receipt with 2 breakfasts on it. The letter on top. Her laugh came again, thinner. You're being dramatic. I looked at the clock and said, You have until Friday. She asked what that meant. I didn't elaborate. I closed the folder and put it away. Then I cleared the table of everything except the compass. I returned to the ledger and processed 3 invoices without error. Her bag zipped. The letter disappeared into it. She stood there a second too long, waiting for me to chase the scene. I didn't. I highlighted a line item and corrected a date. She knew I noticed. That night, I put a small lock on the home office drawer. Passwords changed. Emergency fund renamed and moved. The overdue notices went into a separate file, tabbed in red. I left one on the fridge with a magnet. Visibility matters. In bed, she faced the wall and scrolled in the dark. I lay still and watched the ceiling until the phone light died. Silence builds its own walls. No noise is better than bad noise. In the morning, the compass had shifted on the table, half off the edge, as if it had tried to leave and thought better of it. I pushed it back to center with one finger and set out 2 mugs without coffee. Numbers don't mislead. Her laugh didn't change the math. By noon the group photos went up. Brunch plates, wide smiles, the kind of laughter people post when they're reassuring themselves. I scanned faces. Her closest circle. 2 of them had stood in our kitchen, poured wine, told me I was lucky. They looked at the camera like conspirators who believed the lens was a wall. I didn't comment. I took a screenshot and filed it with the rest. Dates matter. Patterns matter more. Her watch pinged on the counter while she showered. A preview flashed before the screen went dark. He bought it. Then another. A thumbs up and a heart. The names were familiar. I pressed the side button and let the watch sleep. No need to dig. The truth was already standing in the room wearing my shirt. At home, she moved with nervous energy. Drawers opened and closed. A wallet that never used to be locked away now slipped into her bag at all times. Our joint card was missing from the bowl by the keys. I checked the banking app. A new savings had appeared in her name only, funded by transfers from household. The nicknames told me everything. She thought labels could hide substance. I wrote down the amounts and the dates. I canceled one autopay and replaced it with my account. I removed her as an authorized user from the card tied to my credit score. I didn't announce it. I watched the system send confirmations to my email, and archived them in a folder named after the street we live on. There's discipline in clean lines. The compass sat dead center on the table. She kept touching it like a worry stone, turning it so the needle spun and slowed. I let it stop, then moved it an inch left. She noticed. She steadied it. She wanted direction she could control. Friends started avoiding eye contact when they passed me in town. The store clerk who used to chat now asked if I wanted a receipt and held it at full arm's length. Rumors move faster than facts. I let them run. People commit to the first story they hear. I was busy building the last one they need. She suggested we untangle finances, with a quick message sent from the hallway. No greeting, just a link to an article about independence. It landed like a warning. I didn't respond. I scheduled a meeting with the bank and requested a freeze on increases. I set spending alerts low. If she wanted air, she'd feel the temperature change. That night she stayed out with the same friends from the photo. The compass waited under the lamp like a patient witness. I slid it onto the overdue notice and used it as a weight. The paper flattened under it, balance of a sort. Her car pulled in late. Doors closed softly. She moved past the bedroom and into the office. Keyboard clicks. Then calculator taps, the little frantic ones. She was piecing together a life that was already recorded. I didn't get up. I let my breathing stay even and my heartbeat do the counting. In the morning, a handwritten note appeared by the sink. She'd itemized her purchases from the last month and declared a split. The math was skewed. She had doubled groceries and halved dinners. I put the note under the red tab. I added a sticky with accurate figures and left it blank on purpose. She knew I noticed. By lunch, someone from her circle sent a message to my work email by mistake. They meant to forward a thread. It wasn't kind. It wasn't original. It said I was controlling because I knew numbers better than gossip. I printed it. Then I deleted it from the server. No need to feed the noise machine. Our mailbox filled with envelopes stamped with friendly fonts and stern intent. Last reminder. Action required. I lined them on the counter and returned to my desk. I cut 2 subscriptions, moved insurance, and set a contingency plan. Survival is a checklist, not a speech. She came home early and opened cabinets like they'd stolen from her. She counted glasses. She asked where the joint card mailer had gone without asking me. She opened the trash and sifted through envelopes. I leaned on the doorframe and said nothing. Her shoulders tightened. She has tells when she's cornered by her own decisions. The calls started that afternoon. Unknown numbers. Then blocked. Then her name. I let them ring. I watched the screen flash and dim and flash again. Voicemails stacked. I didn't press play. Attention is a currency. I don't spend where the rate is bad. The compass needle trembled when the vent kicked on. I tapped the glass and watched it settle north, steady and indifferent. It gives a direction, not a path. That part is on me. I circled the date on the calendar 2 weeks out. I didn't label it. The countdown doesn't need an audience. Her message came long, broken into bursts like she wanted the phone to breathe for her. I pushed it to the desktop, read each line once, then archived it. I didn't respond. She painted the story clean. I was distant, secretive, controlling with money. She even slipped in a line about me. Stepping out, like it had always been there, waiting. People who rewrite facts forget timestamps. By noon, mutuals started testing the water. A forwarded story. A screenshot. Her tone polished. My name on it, dull and heavy. I saved everything to a folder and labeled it with the date I'd circled. I didn't send explanations. I answered 2 texts with the same reply. I'll handle it. Then I stopped replying. The bank pinged me with a low balance notice on the joint. I opened the ledger. 3 rideshares stacked at midnight. A boutique I didn't know. A hotel authorization that had been cancelled after one night, be intact. The mortgage autopay was next. I shifted it to my account before it bounced. No speeches. Just clicks. On hold with the bank, I flipped the old compass open and watched the needle fight the office fan, then win. North is patient. I set the compass by the utility bills and lined them up by due date. I cancelled 2 subscriptions under her name that still pulled from mine. The gym. A fashion box. The computer accepted the changes without comment. She called while I was verifying direct deposit changes. I let it ring. The voicemail that landed was measured, almost kind, concern for my state of mind, a hint that if I kept freezing access, she'd have to say things out loud. I sat through the silence after she hung up. Then I forwarded the voicemail to the folder and kept moving. I printed the letter, the chat logs, on top printouts, a timeline with dates and the hours she called, late meetings, screenshots from her chat that she forgot to close, timestamps circled. The mistake she drafted for me, with her metadata still attached. 2 bank confirmations showing the freeze, my pay rerouted, and the joint account restricted to bills already posted. A notice I'd typed, simple, clean, separation of finances effective immediately. No threats. No heat. She moved faster at the letter. The one her friend sent with the warm tone and cold content. Names weren't necessary. Places were. The gallery opening. The rooftop bar. The Europe trip scheduled, for us, and booked for 1. The points transfer spoke without emotion. She flipped a page and paused at the list of shared friends who didn't want to get involved. Under each name, their time-stamped check-ins in the same location she had visited, one after another. I didn't annotate. People fill their own blanks when you give them a frame. Her chin lifted. The smile came out, thin, trained, automatic. You're twisting everything. You've been distant for months. You even wrote that. She tapped the fabricated confession she sent me, then looked up at me for the argument. I didn't offer one. I sipped my water and waited. She knew I noticed. Look, she said lighter now. Let's fix the money stuff. We can talk through the rest at home. Her hand drifted toward my phone like it might help. I placed the hotel pen on top of it. She stopped. I took another sheet from the envelope and set it on the pile. A simple budget cut in half. My withdrawal from the shared emergency fund documented to the cent. The transfer receipt already executed. Her car insurance taken off my policy effective next cycle. My name removed from her gym. Her streaming. The soft drains that aim to look small. The apartment split. Rent covered by me this month. Then escrow holding the deposit until keys are returned. Evidence is clean when you keep it simple. She glanced around, measuring audience and angle. This looks vindictive, quiet, pitiful if someone nearby needed a headline. I leaned back. No, I said. It's documented. Distance works better than anger. She pushed the papers back like they were something she could refuse. You'll regret this. You always overreact and then. I set the compass on the table between us. The needle quivered, then steadied toward the glass doors, more honest than either of us had been in months. Her eyes dropped to it, and stayed. The lobby hum swallowed her next line. The story you're spreading, she tried again. You don't know everything. I nodded once. True. I tapped the timeline. This is enough. She blinked, confused by the light tone. Some truths don't need questions. I laid 2 keys on the table. The front door. The mailbox. I added a small note with the move-out date and a time window for picking up whatever she wanted to claim. No drama. No midnight confusion. The documents in the envelope were copies. Her name was on every page that required it. My name on the rest. You can't do this alone, she said, softer now, almost kind. Survival voice. It'll cost you. I let that hang. The numbers already told me the cost. Penalties. Fees. Weeks of rebalancing. A tighter life for a while. Cheaper groceries and fewer dinners out. I accepted it when I moved my direct deposit before dawn. She reached for my wrist. I let my arm rest on the chair instead. Her fingers landed on air. She understood that detail. Control shifts happen in inches. I'll call you tonight, she said. We're not finished. I stood, buttoned my coat. The compass slid back into the inside pocket and settled against my ribs. We are, I said. A simple sentence is a door when you close it properly. I took the originals, left the copies, and picked up the keys. She looked smaller in a room that hadn't changed. I didn't offer comfort. I didn't offer blame. I offered silence, and it did the work. Then I walked out through the doors the needle had chosen. Clarity doesn't negotiate. The calls started before sunrise. Unknown numbers. New accounts. Private ID. I let them stack. My phone face down on the table, screen pulsing under the glass like a heartbeat I didn't share. One message came through unfiltered. You'll miss me forever. I read it once. Then I turned off previews and let silence do logistics. I went to the bank at opening. Joint cards suspended. Autopays cancelled. New account, new routing, new passwords written on paper and locked away. I downloaded statements month by month and sorted them into folders, names clean and dated. Retainer wired to the attorney by noon. Receipts printed. A meeting with HR on my calendar to update beneficiaries. It wasn't revenge. It was control returning to its owner. She called again at lunch. 3 minutes apart, then 6. The cadence of panic. I didn't pick up. I ate at my desk and checked the numbers twice. Rentable value of the condo, estimated tax on a sale, penalties versus carrying costs. The math was dull and honest. That's what I needed. Friends circled with questions. Curious tones wrapped as concern. I gave the same answer to all of them. We're separating. I won't discuss it. The ones who understood didn't push. The others faded to the edges where noise lives. I didn't chase anyone. The old compass lay on the counter where I'd emptied my pockets the night before. The lid was dented, the hinge still stubborn. I pressed it open and watched the needle settle. North is predictable if you stop arguing with it. She showed up at the building midweek. No warning. Hair done like we weren't in a storm of our own making. She buzzed. I watched her on the entry cam and said nothing. The lobby guard asked her to leave when it was clear I wouldn't come down. She tried again an hour later and got the same answer. Boundaries are habits. You practice until they're reflex. The attorney drafted the initial filing. Clean language, no accusations, assets listed, debts tallied, dates and signatures in the places they belong. I sent one email to her address on file. Please direct all communication through counsel. She replied with paragraphs that tried to reopen every door at once. I didn't respond. My attorney did, for sentences long, precise and cold like good glass. Money moved with intent now. I sold the second car she liked to be seen in. Bought a used sedan that started without commentary. listed the condo and signed a short lease on a smaller place near the office. Fewer rooms meant fewer ghosts. I set up auto transfers to savings on the 1st and 15th, and stopped looking back at balances as if they were weather. They were choices. The nights quieted in my favor. No checking doors twice. No waiting for footsteps that missed the hour we used to call reasonable. Coffee tasted like coffee again. I went to the gym before dawn and left when the sun came up. Routine didn't ask questions. Routine answered them. Her name kept lighting my phone a week later. New lines. Voice notes longer than calls. I listened to one all the way through, because discipline isn't the same as avoidance. She cycled through versions of herself I recognized, then ones I didn't. The line about forever came up again at the end, smaller now. I deleted it, and took the trash out on my way to work. People tried to tell me what closure should look like. I let them talk until they ran out of words. Then I changed the subject to practical things. Draft dates, appraisal windows, moving boxes. They caught on fast. Some truths don't need questions. I emptied the last drawer in the old place on a Friday. Left her things labeled and stacked for pickup the next day. The compass went into my jacket pocket with my wallet and keys. I locked the door, slipped the set into an envelope for the realtor, and didn't take a final tour. The past is not a museum. It doesn't improve on display. At the new apartment, I put the compass on the shelf by the front door. Not as a reminder, as a tool. The lid shuts with a clean click when you're done with it. I like that. Another call came in as I stood there. I let it ring out. The needle steadied. Forward was obvious. I followed.